Hilchis Toen V'Nitan Perek Shmini. Here the Rambam starts the next three prokim, with the dinim of Cheskas Metaltalin, and then Behemshech later on the Rambam speaks about the dinim of Cheskas Karkois. Now the general din, when a person is muzik in something, and someone else is coming and tining against the muzik, so the rule is Hametz Mechaver al Varai. That's the pashtus of the rule. Now the issue is, what would be if someone was a morikama? So in other words, this item was definitely his, and now it finds itself in the rishus of somebody else. Someone else is a muzik in it. So that's what we're going to learn. The pashtus hadin is that even b'negem metaltalin, that even though the person proves, the tiveyat proves that he was the morikama, but since lepel the nitva, he is the muzik in this metaltalin, and he's tiny that the metaltalin is his. So the general rule is that we say that since he has the metaltalin, so therefore he's the muzik in the metaltalin, despite the fact that the other person, which is a tivei, is a marikama. That's the general rule. However, in certain situations we say that if the person is the marikama, and the other person doesn't really have proper cheskes metaltalin, as we'll learn, so then that marikama takes it back from the muzik, because he's not really considered a muzik, as we'll learn behemshech. Perek Shmini. Kol ha-metaltalin b'cheska zeh she'ein tachas yodi. Afal pi shehevi ha-tivei edim sha-metaltalin elim yuduim loi. So even though the tivei is tiny, that he's the marikama, so he's tiny, it's really b'cheskosei, but we say no, that since lapel someone else is holding it, so it's b'cheskas, we don't really know that it belongs to the second person. The question is, over here, it's not a question, it's a raya. It's not the pshat, it's be'emes, he's the muzik, and I have a raya that it's mine because I'm holding it. The question is, who is the muzik? So we say, there's the fact, if there's no muzik, l'moshel, there's no one that's holding it, then the thing is lying in the street, so then we assume it belongs to the marakama, it's becheskas of the marakama. Since there's no one else that's a muzik, so then we assume it's becheskas marakama. Masha'inkin, if now it's becheskas of someone else, so that person has the physical muzik shaft on it, and lepel, this person is tiny that he was the marakama. So say, yeah, you were the marakama, but it's no longer becheskas marakama. Now it's becheskas hamuzik. That's this din. Kol ha-metaltalin becheskas zeh she'ein tachas yodi. The muzik is the person that has it. Aval pi shehevi ativei edim shametaltalin elim yudoin loi. Even though there's edim that he once had it, he's the marakama. But lepel, since he has it, so therefore he's the present muzik. Ketzad beged zeh ekeli zeh shebiyotcha. This is what the Tivei is taining. Shaliu, it's mine. Vani ifkadati etzlecha. I gave it to you as a bikoden. Yashaltil lechor. I lent it to you. Vahareo edim. Now the Tivei is producing edim. Shehin yoid neisim mikedim b'rshusik. They know that it was mine. They you see it in my rishus. Vamitva emeleki alaate mecharteli ate nesateli matana. It was taka yours. I'm not arguing that it wasn't yours, but on the other hand, you sold it to me. You gave it to me as a present. So the din is hareza hanitba nishba heses v'niftar. So the nitva is nishba heses. He's the muzik, and there's a tivei, he's a kefer hakil. So he's a nishba heses v'niftar. Now ton shu mashkim biyadi. If lepel the nitva is agreeing that this was his, but he's timing that I have it as a mashkim. So now, since lepel he's in the position that he could have timed that it's his. He's not timing it's his, but he's in the position that he could have timed that it's his. Is yochel litin at kedei domov. So that's the din that when a person has an item in his possession and he could time it that the item is his, so that gives him also the right to be able to time at kedei domov. However, when he tines at kedei domov, is v'nishba b'nikitas chayfes v'neitel k'misha b'yarno. Because if he's tining the item is his, he doesn't have to be noitel nishba v'neitel. The item is here. The item is his. He has to swear a shvus hasis because that person is tining against him. But he doesn't. He's not a nishba v'neitel. He's not a nishba v'neitel, and he's not nishba b'nikitas chayfes. But over here, when he's made it that this item really belongs to the tiveya, but he's timing that this tiveya owes him money because of this item, not because of this item. The person owes him money, and this is a mashkin to be able to take this money. So he wants to be a noitel. So the din is he's a nishba v'neitel. By medvar and mamurim, when do we say this din? That when a person owns an item, he originally owned an item, he's the morikam, and now someone else is a muhzik. So we say that lepel, the person that's the muhzik bepel, now he's the muhzik. And the morikama is not the muhzik, he's the moitzi, and therefore it remains by the person that's presently the muhzik. That's only bedvarim she'enam asuyim lahashkel haskel. Things which are not asuyim lahashkel haskel, kigoyim. Now these are examples of things that are enam asuyim lahashkel haskel. Gim begodim, upeides, uklitash mishabayis, udvarim shel scheiru kietzbam. We'll see later that the Ram knows dvarim asuyim lahashal lahasker means things that were specially made lahashal lahasker, not things which you normally could be mashal lahasker. There's things that are l'chatchila you have in order lahashal lahasker, as we'll learn by Hemshech. Masha'inkin, things, regular items, b'gadim, schera, things that you may be mashal lahasker, that's not called dvarim asuyim lahashal lahasker, according to the Rambam. Others hold that way, but the Rambam is not like that. The Rambam is about Nochama. B'med dvarim amurim, that the muhzik is considered the muhzik, it's b'cheskas ha-muhzik, and not b'cheskas of the Morikama. That's only b'dvarim she'enim asuyim lahashal lahasker, kem b'gadim, u'peiris, u'klitash m'shabayis, u'dvarim shel scheiru k'etzba. Avol dvarim asuyim lahashal lahasker, things that were asuyim lahashal lahasker, because the person has it in order lahashal lahasker, is afal pi shehein tachas yodei shel zeh, even though someone else has it right now. V'afal pi shelihishli kis keli zeh v'lisachri libeidim. There's no edim that he lent it to him. There's no edim that he rented it to him. Is nevertheless, since this is an item which belonged to the original owner, and this item is a dvarim asuyim lahashal lahasker, so there's no shaila. Why is it by him? It's by him because it's an item which this person is mashal lahasker. So b'chiyah is that gavna hareim b'cheskas baleim. It's like the example. The simple example would be. The Rambam is going to say the example, but a person owns a car rental, and lepel, this car belonged to the car rental, and now someone has this car which is part of this car rental company, and he's tiny. He bought the car, and the person is tiny. No, you didn't buy the car. I rented you the car. So then b'chiyah gavna. So since it's asuyim lahashal lahasker, and as the person has this car in order lahashal lahasker, so b'chiyah gavna, so this person has no nemanis to say he bought it. Masha'inkin, if stamazeh, a person owns a car, and that car is not lahashal lahasker, he owns the car, he uses the car, and now all of a sudden someone else has now possession of that car, and he's timing that he bought the car, and the other person is saying, no, I never lent you the car, you never bought the car, I rented you the car, or whatever. So b'chiyah gavna, we say that it's b'cheskas ha-muhzik. That would be the example of the two sages. The difference between dvarim asuyim lahashkel and not dvarim asuyim lahashkel. Okay, so the Rambam takes this. Reuven shehoyel ikeli ha'asui lahashkel lahasker, and v'yeshli edim shehu yadu. This is an item which is asui lahashkel lahasker, and there is edim that know that this item belonged to Reuven. And v'harei oisi akeli. Now, presently, this keli is tachas yad Shimon. Now Shimon has this item. V'Reuven tein shehu sholi socher, that he rented it to him or he lent it to him. And v'Shimon tein, no, atem echarteli, atem satli b'matona, imishkanti b'yodi. You gave it to me either as you sold it, you gave it to me, or it's a mashkin. So the din is einei namas. So Shimon has no namonis. El Reuven netel kelov, he takes back his kelim. The nishba heses al taina Shimon. Now Shimon is saying, no, this item is mine. So we say Reuven is the muhzik, because since it's becheskas of the original Morikama, over here it is becheskas the original Morikama. So Reuven is the muhzik. So since Reuven is the muhzik and Shimon is the toyin against Reuven, so therefore Reuven is the one that swears shvos heses. Va'afilu mes Shimon, even Shimon died. So in Meila, normally we have a tanina liyasmi. So we say Harei Reuven etul kelev. And the pashas advarams, because Reuven is the muhzik. He's not being moitzi from the Yisemim, since Reuven was the original Morikama, and it's dvarim who asuyim lahashal lahasker, so the fact that it finds itself biyat someone else doesn't make it that person the muhzik. Reuven is still the muhzik, and you can be moitzi from Yisemim as well. Just like if the father would have tained it, that it's mine, so the dinners would be that the original owner would have to swear a heses, so that is over here. So it's tein and liyedish. So normally the tein and liyedish is that in order to make the yedish unto a mut. Because when the yedish is a mut and you want to be moitzi from a yedish, so you tainer from the yedish in order to help him you shouldn't be moitzi from him. Over here we're saying really the toin is the muhzik. And normally when the toin is the muhzik, so l'chura, if someone tainers against him, a tainer's bari, so then he has to swear shvos heses. But over here there's no one tainer a tainer's bari. So the chiddush that we're going to be toin and liyedish against the Morikama, and Memela, the Morikama is going to have to swear a shvos heses. Ki'ilu, like there's a tainer's bari against him. That would be the din of tein and liyedish. Halacha doubt. B'amed dvarim amurim that we say that since it's dvarim asuyim lahashal lahasker, so it's still the cheskas of the Morikama, and therefore you can take it out of the muhzik. The muhzik means the person that has possession of it, which really doesn't have a din muhzik, because it's still the cheskas of the Morikama. Now In other words, the keli is there b'yad Shimon, and then they're arguing about a keli which finds itself b'yad Shimon. Reuven is tiny, it's still his, and Shimon is tiny, no, you gave it to me. Avalim toan Reuven v'Omer l'Shimon, keli pleni yeshli etzlecha. I have a keli by you, and v'socher hoitzia ilai. That's why it was the tiny of Reuven. In other words, this tiny is it's not in possession of you don't see it. V'harei yeshli edim shu yodoli. In other words, this is a keli which finds itself in your rishus. I have edim that it's yodoli, and I rented it to you. V'omer Shimon, and Shimon says to him, no, atem mechartali. Atem esatali b'matana. He's tiny, no, you sold it to me. So the din is Naaman. So now Shimon is Naaman. The Nishba, Shimon Hesses v'nifta. And now Shimon is just swears his shvos Hesses v'nifta. Why? Because Miteich sheyochel leimer lihoyu dvar me'elam. Ve'ein biyodi keli zeh. Because he could have tiny originally, I don't have this keli in the first place. And then he wouldn't have had to do anything. And Lepel he's tiny, I do have the keli, and Lepel it's mine. So maybe he has that in Migo, he could have said La'adam. So the din is Naaman leimer, yeshli yetzli v'ati mechartali. So therefore he also has an amonis to say that it's mine and v'ati mechartali. L'chura, we need a shtickle beer that l'chura, if he would have said that it's not by me, he would have been Naaman without showing it. In other words, look, he has an item that's lying in his basement. And someone is tiny, listen, there's an item lying in your basement that it's mine. It's my item, and Lepel is Dvarim Asuyim L'Hashel L'Hasker, and it's mine, and I want it back. Now Lepel, he could have said, I don't have your item. Now, how long could have he said he doesn't have this item? As long as he doesn't show the item. If he goes ahead and starts using the item in front of other people, so then he's no longer has this tiny that I don't have this item. So if, let's say, he wouldn't have tiny another tiny, the tiny would have been, I don't have the item. And he would have said, you do have the item. So obviously he wouldn't have been able to have any tiny against him. But I'll call upon him, he would be potter. He would be potter. But he'd be potter as long as he doesn't produce the item. Now he's tinying, the item is mine, and Lepel, I bought it from you. So we're saying he's Naaman. Is he only Naaman as long as the item is not produced? The Pashtus L'churi is Naaman now to take out the item and use the item. So how could you use this migo? The migo that he could have said, I don't have the item, which at that point in time, he would have only been Naaman as long as he doesn't produce the item. To be believed even when he goes ahead and tightens now that it's mine, and now he's going to produce the item. L'churi, there's no migo. That's L'churi tzarech bir in this Havana of this migo. Halacha hey. Enkol advarim elu amurim. This din that we're saying, that dvarim hasuim lahashel hasker, and the original owner, the marikama tainas that I was rented to you and rented it to you, and the other one is tining, no, I bought it. So we say that it goes back to the original marikama. That's this din. Enkol advarim elu amurim. Elishevahoya balakeli toyin aniyaf kaditi yatzlechoy shaltiu lecha. So he's tining that the item finds itself in your rishus because I rented it to you, I lent it to you. And therefore, it's give it back to me. And he's considered the marikama. He's considered the muzik now as well. Avalim ton. This person is tiny. He's not tiny. I lent it to you. I rented it to you. He's ton shekeli zehoye shalei, and v'nigna v'yava they nigzal. Lepel. This item was a stolen item. He doesn't know that he stole it. He's tiny. It's a stolen item. V'hevi edim shehu yadualei, and he brings edim that is yadualei. So this person comes along and says, "Listen, this item is mine. Was mine. It was always mine." And the Pele was stolen. Now I find it in the irishus of this person. Now, what is this other person tining? I don't know anything about what you're saying. That you're saying that you had this item, the item was stolen. I don't know anything about it. Aval, people sold it to me in a snuli matorah. They gave it to me as a present. I had nothing to do with you. Is aval pishu midvarim asuim lahashul haskin. So nevertheless, mamid misakeli biyad zeshu biyodi. And he doesn't even have a tain. Whereas in the case when he's tining that you owe me there's a normal case where a person is and that person is tining that this item is mine, so he's clearly having a tainer's bari, that this item is mine, and you have to give it back to me. But over here, what's happened is that this person is not tining, I gave it to you. He's tining, this item was stolen from my house. This item was stolen from my house, and this is mine. Presumably, you probably stole it. The other one is tiny. I don't know if it was stolen or not stolen. Someone sold it to me. As far as I know, it's mine. I bought it from someone that claimed it was his. And as far as I know, it's mine. I don't know anything between you and that person. So Mela, we say, since you don't have really any tiness to you don't have any direct tiness to the person that's holding it, you don't have any tiny against them. You only tiny that it was once yours. And it was stolen from your house. And he's tining, no, it's mine right now. I bought it. He's not tiny against him. He's not tiny. It wasn't stolen from that other person. So there's no shvus hesses, and also the Teveya doesn't get it back. In other words, the Teveya Taina is what the Teveya Taina is. He asks the Taina, says, listen, this item which is in your possession is really in my possession because I lent it to you. In other words, it's mine. It was always mine, and it was mine lahashul lahasker, and I lent it to you. That's how I have it, and by you it's mine. Mashenkin, if he's not tiny, I lent it to you. I rented it to you. He's tiny. It was stolen from me, and Lepel, it's mine. And that person is tiny. No, I don't know if it's stolen from you or not stolen from you. I bought it from someone. As far as I know, it's mine. So Lepel, since he has possession of it, so therefore he's called the Murzik, and the other person is called the Moitzi, and he also doesn't have a tiny bari against the person that has the possession. So therefore, this person that has possession doesn't even have to taina a shvus has. So nachamo. So when the Morikama tainas, I rented it to you, I lent it to you, and it's dvarim asuim lahashul hasker, so it goes back to the Morikama. But if he doesn't say I lent it to you, I rented it to you, he's taining that it was stolen from me, and lepel he's taining that I bought it, I bought it. So memela b'chiyai gavna he doesn't have to pay. Now yotzel lebailam arishenim, that's this. Now yotzel lebailam arishenim chazaka shenignevu claim. Now the question is, there is a din that if a person has a claim that his kalim were stolen, and lepeil, later on we find his kalim biyad acher. So there's a takana that he could go ahead and get his kalim back from this person that has the kalim that was originally his, and that person is claiming he bought it from someone. He doesn't know if they were stolen or not stolen, and he has to reimburse this person the money that he paid to the person that sold it to him. That's the din. So there was a chazaka that he taka had a gneva. So now is Yishav Zeh ben Kitas Chayfetz Kamahit. See, the person that has the item right now has to swear ben Kitas Chayfetz how much he spent on it, and then the Yitel, and then the Yazir Akelim L'Bailim Rishenim Mishabar the Hilchos Gneva. That's a separate din. There's nothing that makes no difference with the dinim of Dvarim Asuim L'Hashul Hasker. It's not a special din dvarim asum lahashal haskell. It's a regular din that if a person owned kaleb and then there was a yotze chazaka that he had a gneva, and then lepel he finds his kaleb biyad acher, and that person tainis he bought it from someone. So the din is that you could get it back from this person that bought it, but on the other end you have to reimburse him the money that he paid for it. Now toan atem echarteli atem asateli b'matona, lepel he's taining that you sold it to me or you gave it to me is aval pishiyotzel ishem gneva. Im lehoyim midvarim asuim lahashul hasker is a reason nish beheses v'yam b'dakelim biyodi. In other words, this person had a gneva, and this person now finds kalim biyad someone, and he's taining that kalim that was biyad someone is something that was stolen from him. But lepel, the person that has now possession on this kalim, which he's now the muzik, as we said before, is taining you sold it to me. So lepel, he's the muzik. So he's the muzik, and the other person is the moitzi. And therefore, he has to swear a shvus hesses that he stays with the kalim. He has to swear shvus hesses to the teveya. So again, this person is being teveya for him that this money is his, and that he that he's saying that atem bechartli atem satem matana. He's saying I didn't do that. I never gave it to you matana. So maybe the kalim are really mine because lepel I have a cheskas that there was a gneva. And Memele bepashas these kalim are mine. If you're telling I sold it to you, but I'm telling I never sold it to you. So the din is, so he has to be nishba heses. The person that has the keli biyodi is nishba heses because there's a tainas bari against him. And lepel v'yamad keli biyodi. That's this din. Now mikanat olamed lechol mi sheyesh metalton biyodi. Someone that has metalton in his possession. Aval pi sheyochel leimo lekuchenim biyodi v'yishava heses v'yipater. However, so the din is Yishav mit kitas chayfetz, v'achar kach yitel kedin kol hanishboim v'netel. The pashas the mikanat olam is from the din of before when he's tainis that it's mashkan hu biyadi. Because when a person tainis about an item that it's this person was the morikam, and he's taining that it's mashkan hu biyadi. So the din is that he has to swear and v'yitel. Why does he have to swear v'yitel? Because he's being moided that the item is not his. But on the other hand, since he has a schus to time that the item is his, so therefore that gives him the right to mon the money, but on the other hand, he needs a nishba v'netel. So that's a general rule, that's the rule. Mikol atalomet, kol mishiyesh metalton biyodi. Someone has metalton in his possession, and he's able to say that it's mine. Aval pi sheyochel leimar lekuchenim biyodi, and in ubi v'yishava heses v'yipater, So and he could have kept the item just with a shvus hesses. So l'chura there would be a svara now that he's moneying the money instead of the item. He's saying, no, you owe me money. So maybe he shouldn't have to be on nishba v'netel. He shouldn't have to swear a regular shvur of shvuas hanetel, which is a shvur kein deiraisa l'chura. He had the option of swearing a shvuas hesses. But the rule is that migil afturim shvur le'amrin, and he can't take off the chi of shvur of the nishba v'netel because he has a migil. He could have only sworn a shvuas hesses. So therefore, mikanat alamid mishi yesh metaltum biyodei aval bishi yachalem l'kuchnim biyodei, and then he would have been a yeshava hesses v'yipater. And then he could have been only sworn a shvuas hesses and kept the item. So the din is Yishav ben Tkitas Chayfetz. He has to swear ben Tkitas Chayfetz. V'achar kach yitul. Kedin kolam mishbon v'neitel. And l'chura the mikanat alom is like not ramish ben kemei. It's not mamish ben kemei. The mikanat alom is on the din they mentioned before. But again, when he ties that it's mashkin hu biyodei. Halacha zayin. Mi shahoyu biyodei dvarim hasuyim l'hashal lasker. He has something which is dvarim hasuyim l'hashal lasker, and it belongs to someone else. Is aval pi shahoida, the person that has the item is made of amalei. Yidei ani shahoy shulcha. I know there was once yours. And lepel is dvarim hasuyim l'hashal lasker. Aval pleini mochrimli in aslim matana. Is a mitzine smiyadi. Even though the dvarim hasuyim l'hashal lasker. Afilo hevi ze edim shen yeduyim lei. Even if the person brings edim that he's the marikama. Sha'adim asilim kiris kelim. The fact that this is dvarim hasuyim l'hashal lasker doesn't mean that he never sold it. So maybe he has an item, it's in his possession. Lepel, this item was once someone else's, and it's dvarim asuyim l'hashal lasker. So we assume that this person bought it, or someone else bought it and he sold it to him. Now that's only talking about when the original morikama is not tiny to the present muchzik that I rented it to you. Toen V'Nitan, the original morikama came and says, "V'amar ani iskartim l'cho, yishaltim l'cho." I rented it to you. I lent it to you. So that is mitzine smiyadi, because lepel, since he's the marikama and he's tiny that he rented it, so lepel we look at it and it's dvarim hasuyim l'hashal lasker, so it makes sense that he rented it. So we say that it's still becheskas of the original marikama. The point is, since he's tiny that he rented it to the person that's presently the muhzik, so we look at it as still being becheskas of the original marikama because it makes sense that it was rented to that person, and therefore he's the muhzik. Masha'inkin, if he's not tiny, I rented it to you. He's tiny that it's mine. This is mine, and it's dvarim asuyim l'hashal lasker. And lepel, the person that has it, tiny is, listen, it was taka yours. I know it was yours. I know it's dvarim asuyim l'hashal lasker. But lepel, I bought it from someone. But presumably, you probably sold it to that person, and lepel, that person sold it to me. You know, he's not tiny that I rented it to you. So b'chiyai gavna. So the muhzik is the muhzik. The one that has possession of it is considered the muhzik. Now, so then is a reza nishba hases shalei hishalei v'lei hiskrelei meplain l'lakav v'yamet kele biyodi. So when a person has an item that once belonged to someone else, so if it's dvarim asuyim l'hashal lasker, and that person is tiny that I lent it to you and I rented it to you, so either whether he says you sold it to me or I bought it from someone else that sold it to me, but lepel, since you're tiny, you rented it to me. So Memela, we have a din that person is the muzik. The original person is the muzik, and he keeps it. Masha'inkin, that's only talking about dvarim asuyim l'hashal lasker. Masha'inkin, we're talking about dvarim she'ein asuyim l'hashal lasker. So the original owner is not a muzik. So since he's not a muzik, so the present person that has it, he's the muzik, and therefore fakir. So he keeps it. V'yamet kele b'yodi. That's what he's saying. V'hoyim b'dvarim she'ein asuyim l'hashal lasker. So then harei ze nishba heses. Not even that person is tiny. Because if he's tiny, I rented it to you. But lepel, he's the muzik, and it's not dvarim asuyim l'hashal lasker. So therefore, the din is that he swears, and he tinies. He doesn't tiny. He bought it. He tinies. I bought it from someone else. But either way, the din is that he swears. He's nishba shvus heses shalei hishalei v'lei hiskrelei meplain l'lakav v'yamet kele biyodi. The kudas advarim is that dvarim asuyim l'hashal lasker, and the original owner is tining aniyas shalticha, aniyas karticha, so the din is he's still a muhzik. That's the nakuda of this din. And since he's the muhzik, so even though the pale, it finds itself in the possession of someone else, but the muhzik is the original owner. The medvar mamon, if he's tining aniyas shalticha, is karticha. Masha'inkin, if he's not tining aniyas shalticha, is karticha, he's tining the marshal that was a gneva beer, or whatever he's tining. He's not tining aniyas shalticha or is karticha. So then, lepel, he's not considered a muzik in that item, and therefore whoever has possession of the item, he's the muhsik. Now this only dinner by dvarim asuim lahashalasker, dvarim shein asuim lahashalasker. Even if he's saying ani shalticha is karticha, nevertheless, lepel, the person that has possession of the item, he's considered the muhsik, and the original owner, the morikam, is considered meitzim mechaverim. Halacha tes. Al tita. Now this is a machlekes rishenim. This is the Rambam shita, as we mentioned before, that dvarim asuim lahashkel haskell doesn't mean things that are possible to be mashal haskell, or things that people regularly are mashal haskell. But dvarim that are made milchatchila, you own it in order lahashal haskell. That's the dvarim asuim lahashkel haskell. Al titer ben dvarim asuim lahashkel haskell, the dvarim shedarkan lahashkel haskell. K'mishato rabba mugdel. There's many people, many rishenim that hold that this din of dvarim hasuim lahashel haskell means any item which a person would normally lend out. There's something that's maybe something which a person wouldn't lend out. The Rambam is going to soon say cases where a person would be pashtus not lend out. It's maybe too dear. It's too tired. A person wouldn't lend it out. So that's dvarim she'enam hasuim lahashel haskell. But dvarim hasuim lahashel haskell, according to them, are things which people would normally lend out. So the Rambam say that's not the pshat. Al tita ben dvarim hasuim lahashel haskell. The dvarim shedarkan lahashel haskell. K'mishato rab mugdelim. Shekol advarim ruyim lahashel. The darken lahashel. All things are royal lahashel, and it's regular lahashel. Afilu chaluki shalodam umatzoi mitas. Even personal clothes, his own clothes, or his own sheets that he sleeps on, is also ruyim lahashel. You could lend that out as well. Aval dvarim hu asuyim lahashel haskell. What does it mean asuyim lahashel haskell? Hey makelim shibnei Eisa Medina Eisa Nesim B'Tchilasim Tchilas Asiyasim Kidei lahashilon ulaskiron for little scharim. In other words, they were originally made in order to, people buy them. They don't buy them to use for personal use. It's mechatila made or bought in order to be able to rent them out or to lend them. V'hareim lebaleim kimei karka. So by them, the Bailam look at them kimei karka she'echel perisev aguf kayim. So just like karka. So the purpose of the karka is not, you don't use the karka by getting payers from the karka. So in the same way, these items are used by getting payers from these items. Kach elu hakelim ikra siyasim kedei lahanis b'scherem. The Ram gives example again, hayoyres hagdeilah shel necheshes, large pots, shemavash lehem beis hamishtois, that you use for big parties. You use these large pots. Ukigein choli hanecheshes hatuach bezov, which is also sheikhen esir lekala liskasha, a special necklace, a special piece of jewelry that you buy that is used for a kala, which is made out of copper and it's also plated with gold. So that's also something which is very expensive, and something which you rent out to a kala for her to beautify herself with. Sheikra siyas elu hakelim eino lebchiras atzman v'lei lishtamish ben balabayis bebeisei. Either to lend it out to people in order to have hanoah, connect them from other things that you get from that person, or to rent it out, in order something which you're using in order to generate some either money or favors from. He has an item which is, again, as we mentioned before, you have a car, and that car could be used for personal use, but there's Adam that's saying that this car is used for renting purposes. You know, it's not a car that you use, it's a car which is you use to rent out to people. Hasuim, shehu lahashel haskar, as arehu, v'chein, v'cheinim hoyo lo'odem kelim mish'ara kelim, v'yesh li Adam. So it's again, so it's the Ram learns that kelim asuyim lahashel hasker doesn't mean kelim which could be lahashel hasker, but the Ram holds that it means it has to be kelim which is asuyim lahashel hasker. In other words, it's made milchatchila lahashel hasker. So then, when this person that originally owns it, tainas that he was mashal and maskeret, so that's really what it was made for, and that's the seder advarim with it, and memela he's still considered the muhsik. Halacha Yud. Now the keli shef seidei merubim ischari, something which is the hefsed is merubim ischari ubnei adam makpid molov shalei ashilu. So in other words, if you're going to rent it out, so the chances of you losing from it getting ruined may be more than the amount of money that you're going to get for renting it out. That's hef seidei merubim ischari. So therefore, people are makpid shalei ashilu. I say is areu becheska she'eni yosel ashla hasker. Kigain, he gives an example of sakna shel shchita. Sakna shel shchita is more, it's like an edel azach, and it's an expensive, and therefore it can easily get ruined. So therefore a person wouldn't normally lend out a sakna shel shchita. Leficha chafilu boed, shehishila yiskiri zeh, they saw that he lent it out. So that doesn't change the chazaka that this type of an item is not so normally used to be rented out. It still remains kechol hakelim. So in other words, other items which is not bepashtus, that it's not to rent out. So if you saw that it was used to rent out, so you can assume that it was made to rent out. Mashenkin kelim, which are bepashtus, not made to rent out. So even if you saw that it was being rented out, so you assume that it's kechol hakelim. Ra'ilad v'reinu. Shaharirova hoitzi zug sha'oisen boy hasarbul. There's a scissors which you make a sarbul. A sarbul is a coat, and there's something to cut a coat over sefer hagoda, which is a sefer hagoda bedvarim hoasuyim lahashal lasker. So in other words, he said that these goes into together of dvarim asuyim lahashal lasker, and therefore he took it out, even the fact that the song was a music in it. But there was a marakama, and it was dvarim asurim lahashal asker. Now, why was it considered dvarim asurim lahashal asker? So the Gemara is mavur v'lulish nizbarali be'edim shem dvarim shasurim lahashal asker lehitzim mitachas yada yisem. Because the only reason why he was made mitachas yada yisem because he was mavarer that it was a davar hasui lahashal asker. Hosh arasugis or sharasvarim ena bechlal din zeh afal pishein roi lahashal asker. So that's a proof to his original point. The original yisod of the Rambam is that dvarim asurim lahashal hasker doesn't mean things which are regular. There's regular to be mashal hasker. It's not irregular. It's not unusual for you to mashal hasker. But rather, dvarim asurim lahashal hasker means things which are designated. That the purpose of having it is lahashal hasker. You don't have it for itself. You have it lahashal hasker. And therefore, when we're talking about this zug, which was used in order to make a sarbel, to make a coat, or the Sefer Agoda, even though it's regular for a person to rent it out, but on the other end, the only reason why Rava was able to take it out from the Yad HaMuzik and give it back to the Marakama, because he established that it was Dvarim Hasuim Lashal Lasker. Not because it's the fact that it's regular for it to be masquerade, the Rambam says that's pashut, that you don't have to prove. The fact that Rava had to prove that it's Dvarim Asurim Lashal Hasker means because he wanted to prove that it's not only regular to be Mashal Hasker, which you don't need no proof, but rather that it was Asurim Lashal Hasker, which is again that yisod of Dvarim Asurim Lashal Hasker. V'davar zeh ikel god b'din v'davar shel tam shiroi lismech olav v'loden bei ubarer hu l'meitzei das v'roi l'dayin losem esel l'negadenev shel yolus. So the Rambam Shita is that Dvarim Asurim Lashal Hasker, which the chiddush of Dvarim Asurim Lashal Hasker is that if the Marikam Tainas, that he rented it out so he could take it back from the Mugzik, because the Marikam is considered the Mugzik and not the person that has possession of it. So I'm saying that's only Dvarim Hasuim Lashal Hasker, but not Dvarim Shedarkan Lashal Hasker.